So after you sold the first one, what were your next steps to start scaling that?
To scale it, you have to understand it, right? So I was just in the trenches doing it myself for the first
You just started buying and selling yourself?
15. I'm going to drive, I'm picking it up, I'm making calls, all that sort of stuff. She's getting upset because I'm on the road at night, and then you start to realize, you start to pick up patterns of like, gosh, I'm spending 8 hours a day in the car. And so that's when you realize, okay, I got to call someone.
Okay, so how many mowers would you say you bought yourself before you hired your driver?
I bet it was like 5 to 10. It wasn't a crazy amount. Second layer of this actually turning into a business. I bought one. It worked perfectly, right? Because I didn't want to buy something that I didn't know, I didn't know how to fix it. Well, one of them just stopped working when I was driving around the middle of my lawn. I had no idea. So I thought, I'd driven by this house that always had these old lawnmowers sitting in front of them. Just drove up to this guy's house. I knocked on his door and I said, do you like fix these? And he said, yeah. Well, turns out this guy, Bill. So I drive him over to my house and he determines that the fuel pump went bad. And so then all of a sudden I got a mechanic, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And people, when you're trying to scale a business, notice I don't have full-time employees. I've just got,
Yeah.
it's a 1099 basis. You're in there, basis. And then you start to 1099, you start to like hire people and you start to realize, my gosh, I've got this guy like he's been doing like 20 hours a week for me. At that point, hire him part-time.
What were you paying Bill for this stuff?
Bill had his own rate, right? But he was probably working at like he's probably working like $14 an hour. So the more
Jeez.
hustle stuff, like you'll find right now, what's my shop rate? It's $125 an hour. Why can I charge that? It's because I market myself. I did the work of finding Bill. If he would market himself, he could easily charge 20, 25.
Yeah.
He wasn't optimizing for money. He just wanted something to do here and there. You know what I mean? I started to push
Yeah.
beyond his limits. He's 70-year-old. He's got a cane.
So once you found Bill, did you start like opening up your parameters of what you could buy, like being more willing to flip things and not just buy and sell?
Ow, I shouldn't buy, even with a mechanic in the back, I should not buy anything that needs any kind of work. A little bit different formula now that I've got a dealership because I'm trying to keep the guys working in the off season. So then it actually does make sense. So I can keep his wages. So the whole, everything changed, right? When this turned into an actual dealership.
All right. So you use Bill. Bill fixes the fuel pump. How do you scale to your biggest month ever? Like, how did you have that monster month? What did that month look like?
Part of how that one came together is at that point, I'd probably been doing this for like a year and a half. Okay. And everyone thought I was crazy when I quit teaching and gave up the benefits. So they picture that I've got these little lawnmowers sitting in front of the house. They got no idea what's actually going on. So my cousin is telling me, like, you are crazy, dude, to possibly do this. He's a corrections officer. And my wife doesn't want me to do it. She's risk averse. And anyway, what ends up happening is my cousin Dan, he ends up quitting. He ends up quitting his job to come work for me out of my barn.
At the prison?
Yeah, he quits working at the prison, gets out of there. And there's other guys that I played basketball with in college, and I taught them how to do this. Okay. And I had a deal structure set up that I would teach them how to do it. We would use half of their money, half of mine. We would use my equipment, my setup, and I would get a certain percentage of that deal. And I think it was like a 50-50. So if they found a deal, I would still get 50% of the pie. This is what I thought the big business was going to be. I built a business called Family of Flippers. So I would teach people, but it was kind of using some of my capital. I had a guy from Nashville, Tennessee doing it. I had like 5 guys doing this alongside myself. Most of them doing it from my barn, some of them doing it from afar. It was a really big trust basis thing because I knew these people. Me personally, there's a video that you discovered me off of. Me personally, the stuff I bought and sold was about like 30 to 35 grand that I made. And then there was like, 15 to 20 grand made from like the 50 splits from the other people. Number one, like really pivotal piece was like, number one, you got a monster trailer and you're going out to Ohio. Ohio is like the hotbed of, I'm in Michigan. Ohio, it's the hotbed to find the equipment. I don't know what it is, but they'll come back with 4 or 5 pieces of equipment. Well, and this is a really big hack for you guys looking to buy and sell lawnmowers. There are dealers that just hate dealing with used stuff. And I came across one of these dealers the nicest guy in the world became a mentor to me as I actually opened up my equipment dealership here. Shout out to Wanamaker's. Okay. These guys are the largest simplicity dealer in the nation. And this guy's just getting droves of lawnmowers in. And the first one I buy was just crazy underpriced. I'm like, how is a dealer selling it for this cheap? And so I put two and two together. I'm like, this is like a source for me now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that we didn't just buy the first time. I said, well, what else do you have? We left with a trailer full of 3 or 4. And I got to the point where I was probably buying like, 20, 30 mowers a month just from this one guy. Talk about leverage, right? Now you can call it
Yeah.
help. I'm still searching, but get massive volume from this guy. And so that was a huge, I mean, and there's enough room for me to make $1,000, $2,000, $2,500 on the mowers that he's got. So
Each.
yes, yes.
Wow.
So like a 0-turn mower that I sell brand new now, I mean, they can get to like $12,000, $15,000, $20,000. It's crazy what they can sell for. And that's why this is such a good niche, So you can have a used lawnmower that sells for $5,000 and great value because they sell new for $15,000,
Yeah. What do you make on the new ones on average?
It's a volume game, it's 18 to 22%. And that's if you're doing it right. That's if you're doing it right. Dealers that aren't doing it right, you're probably making more like 10 to 15%,
So you'll buy a new one for 12 and try to sell it for 15?
Yeah, and they've got like it's called MAP pricing, which is minimum advertised allowed pricing, and so you pretty much follow MAP. There are dealers that don't follow MAP; they'll go above it. I'm trying to build a national platform with what I'm doing, right? So I'm going with like a constant, steady, a fair price. Some people maybe are trying to sell it under that, but I would rather go volume. And that's the same thing when you're flipping, right? You don't try to make all the money. You try to make 80% of the money and move it within a week.
Yeah. So let's talk timeline. When did you go from when did you buy your first mower? And then you started scaling up. And then when did you open your actual dealership? And then when did you start selling new from your dealership?
I bought my first 0-turn. I quit teaching in that for probably about exactly a year. And then this was from a third of an acre property. I had 8 lawnmowers sitting in a little 2-car garage. I've got 5 or 6 enclosed trailers in the backyard. So imagine your neighbors got to love you, right? For that. That's why matter. I had a great relationship, right, with my neighbors. But I moved to after I quit teaching, then I bought a 24-acre property with a barn behind it, and that's where I had the space to actually do it. But that in and of itself, they had an estate sale right at the house that I live in right now, and I'm back there trying to find a lawnmower, and then I realized I'm like, what are you guys doing with the house? Well, we're gonna put it on the market in a couple months. So I bought it. It was a 1970 original house with neon in one room and all these bright colors. So you just imagine a 1970 original house, and it's just been awesome. It's like American dream, right? You buy the house now you got the finishings in there, and I've got the skills to do that. So but even that, right, I've got now, instead of me fixing the house myself, I'm paying someone at $30 an hour because my time's worth more than that. Then I operated like that for probably like a couple of years. 4 years ago, this was a dance studio when I bought it. It wasn't a dealership. I just bought a building. And again, I'm a deal guy, so I got a great deal on the real estate. They didn't market it the right way. Shame on them. But we were driving by, and thank goodness my wife was looking. She said, "That's for sale." And I had no lines, right? I bought this, and these people probably thought this guy's not going to make it. There's 10 or 15 used lawnmowers sitting out there, this baby blue building, that I'm knocking a wall there. And, slowly you pick up brands, you pick up Toro, then you pick up Trailer Line, then you pick up Bad Boy. And if you came, you would never know. I mean, it's a full-fledged dealership at this point, 4 years later. So
that's amazing. Are you still buying used on Facebook Marketplace as well?
I did a couple of weeks ago because we're kind of slow in the winter. That's another hack. I'm trying to figure out what to do. So I'm trying to think of the last deal I got, but I bought like a Kubota side by side. So like, you can sit beside each other. It's why they call it side by an ATV. And I bought it for $8,000, but this needed work. And I've got this listed for $13,000 right now, but we did have to put work into this. Okay. probably hope to make a few grand on that. I bought one that needed work. I bought a Polaris Ranger that needed work, and I got a crazy deal on it. I bought it for maybe $4,500, $5,000, and I sold it a few days ago for 10 grand. It needed some work on the engine, and my mechanic knew what he was doing. He got it fixed. I probably made like 4 grand on that. Then the guy traded in his side by side. We got that for, I think it was 40. No. I bought that for 37.50. That one's probably worth 8 grand. So that's
Dang.
People think, here's the other big hack for you guys listening. You think that you don't want people to know that you're buying and selling. People want transparency. The guy that you bought that from, he ended up telling you, you might tell your buddy to call this guy.
Yeah.
He might, right? Or you might call him back in 3 years and say, hey, what do you got? And you trade that in, and then he makes money on that again. So you being transparent is everything, you know?
Yeah. It's more profitable.
So you might not know this, but this isn't my real channel. My full channel is linked below or right here. Go check that out for full episodes.